Tony Taylor. Are you here for Leaders Lead the podcast? Let's go. Hey, how did you beat me? Look, let me tell you about this podcast. We got like 5 seconds. Leaders Lead the podcast is about leadership. Not just the leader without, but the leader within. All of these leaders that I'm talking to across the country, well, across the world now, they have one thing in common, and that's that they have overcome some insurmountable obstacles to get to where they're at today. Come on, let's go. Hey, welcome to Leaders Lead the podcast. I'm excited. I got a really good show for you today. But before we get started with the show, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Speak University. That's the place where you go if you want to learn the art of communication and communication. The folks that could speak and understand communication, those are the folks that are leaders, right? The speakers are leaders. So go to speakuniversity.org. That's enough with the paying the bills and the commercials and stuff like that today. I'm excited, man. We get to interview some pretty cool people on this show. I've been falling in love with all the entrepreneurs and just learning from them. Like I said, on this show, this show is different because, and I'm gathering my thoughts. I've been thinking about this all day. Like, what is the difference from Leaders Lead the podcast to all the other shows, right? We could say, yeah, we're in the top 5%, top 3%, top 1%. We could say that. But I think that this show is one of the realest shows that we have. We have entrepreneurs coming on the show, and they not only tell you, how much money they make, they tell you the obstacles that they had to overcome to get to like where they're at today, just like the intro said. That is the sticking point, because there's so many times on social media, we see these people, all you see, not the guests, not you, Jeff, but we see these people, all they do is they show us their boats, their toys, their planes. They show us all of the stuff. And what does that do? That creates hostility inside of us. I think it's natural to look at stuff and just say, oh man, I wish I had that. But my goal, my dream is so that you could look at these entrepreneurs and you can say, oh my God, I can't believe that he went through this. I can't believe she went through that. I can't believe they went through that. And they're here today. But not only are they going to show you their pain, they're going to show you how they turned their pain into their passion. They're going to show you and explain to you some tactical decisions that they made. And today is no exception. We got Jeff Arnold, man. I'm looking at the board. I had to write this stuff down because it's a lot. He's done a lot. Wait till you hear his story. It's incredible. He's the president of RIGHTSURE'S. This man has 4 best-selling books, 4 of them. He manages deals ranging from 6 figures all the way to 100 million. That's a lot of money. He is an expert on insurance mergers and acquisitions. All around, he is a good dude. I'm so happy to welcome Jeff Arnold to the show. How you doing today, my brother?
Hey, Tony, I'm doing great, man. Excited also about what we may unpack here in the next couple minutes.
Yeah, good deal. Man, I was looking at your accomplishments, and the very first thing that stuck out to me was the obstacle that you had to overcome. I read that you were diagnosed with ADHD after a circumstance, and then you just kind of had this moment of kind of coming to life. Can you tell me about that? I like to start with the obstacle, brother.
Happy, man. Thank you. I've never had the opportunity, as I recall, to even discuss this. So this is fantastic, man.
Is it okay if we talk about it?
First thing.
Is it okay if we talk about it?
Absolutely,
okay,
man.
Cool.
Look, every person has peaks and valleys and struggles, right? Some in isolation, some alone, some with other people. And it's how you deal with those adversities that makes you who you are, right? First of all, if none of us had any struggles, we wouldn't be refined or better person. And so, if we go way back a few years, because I are an aged man, right? I was the absolute worst student that you could ever imagine. And this is a true story. Several, not one, but several teachers told me in grade school, elementary, and then in junior high, Jeff, I cannot spank you anymore. Because in the 70s, you used to be able to spank kids, right? And that's how you discipline them. And
the
they
80s
said
and 90s too, weirdly. Yeah.
Fair enough. It just said, Jeff, I cannot spank you anymore, but you're not welcome back in my classroom. And so, multiple times I would be taken to the principal's office. And finally, the principal just had me, cleaning out the erasers and dusting chalkboards and rearranging staplers for all the teachers for weeks at a time to figure out what to do with the problem child that I was. Nowadays we would quickly diagnose that is ADD or ADHD and rapidly assign some type of medication or some type of solution to it. And in those days, it was really if the paddle didn't solve it, then you were incurable, right? You were headed toward the big house or something. And so with respect to what you said at the start, it was later in life that I got this diagnosis and I realized what was wrong. Because I had one of my children that we put on some medication. And so before I let them try it, of course, I was going to try it. And I'm telling you, man, within the second day of trying this, I could finish thoughts, things crystallize. My mind slowed down so much that I was more aware of what I was doing. I was more, some people call it in the zone, aware of the moment, Zen, whatever you want to ascribe to it. I all of a sudden, at a later stage in life, had that ability, right? It's changed everything with what I've done in the corporate world, the kind of father I am, the husband I am, best-selling author, 5 books, 4 of them bestsellers. Not to brag, it's that the medication.
Man, let us hear it, brother.
That medication allowed a filter to go in that slowed down my brain, at least allowed pause to enter into my thoughts. And I didn't have the need to vomit up every word I've ever heard. And I got the ability to let someone else finish speaking. These are all skill sets that I didn't possess before that. And so I won't, take over your microphone, but that's a great little story there, man.
No, man, that's why you're here. It's your microphone. I started with that because I got ADHD myself, and I was told, it was 5th grade. I was told in 5th grade, not only are you not going to graduate 5th grade, but the chances are that you're not going to graduate high school. My teacher told me that I was going to be a failure because I couldn't keep still. Because when she said, look at me when I'm talking to you. And I couldn't, even as an adult, sometimes, my eyes will be going around the place, and I need to have like little fidget toys and stuff like that, just so that I can remain focused. But just seeing and reading what you had to go through, it inspired me greatly, because I know that somebody else is going to benefit from this story, because I know so many other entrepreneurs and leaders, they battle from the same thing, but they don't freaking get help with it. And you said that you got, was it instantaneously? It was boom.
Yeah, the first day I noticed something, because it was my daughter's, right? So I took her medicine and I just to see what she was going to be experiencing, because I had a lot of insecurities about medicating a younger child, right? As any father or parent or anyone would do. And so I wanted to experience it. Took the first day and I noticed just a calm or a zenness come over me. And day 2, it was like a superpower, man. I could get stuff done, finish thoughts. And, I think I cleaned my car, my wife's car, the house, started writing stuff, caught up on emails by noon, right? It was just amazing, the ability to start and finish. And so many people that suffer with this or struggle with this don't realize how bad it is until it's corrected or modified, enhanced, right? That you don't realize what you're leaving undone because you're so driven to distraction to the next thing or the next sparkly object. Just to validate what you said too, I mean, the only option really for me, because I did night school or summer school all through high school, right? Because it was D's and F's, D's and F's, D's and F's, because I couldn't finish anything. And so really the only option for me while all my friends are going off to college or whatever is I joined the Army. And I literally was in basic training 2 days after I graduated. And quite honestly, that was the best thing for me because the rigid discipline and the exercise kind of helped to focus me a little, not like the medication does, but that recalibrated, if you will, for lack of a better word, something in me. And then after 2 years in the Army, I spent most nights and all weekends in the library with just a voracious appetite to learn. And so I often refer to myself as self-educated because I really did it myself, living in the library for 2.5 years, the last part of the Army. So yeah, crazy story.
Oh, Jeff, this is so good, man. This is so good because I just finished up a video and I was talking about the power of, I put Netflix and then I crossed out Netflix and I put a book because so many people, they'll say, oh, I watched this documentary on YouTube, or I watched a documentary on TikTok. They don't have documentaries on TikTok. Well, I watched this video on TikTok and I know everything about this subject. And I'm just like, man, I got the power is in my book bag because I got some pretty good books. So I'm glad that you said that as far as reading and you having that appetite for learning. What else would you contribute to your success? And the reason I ask that is because a lot of people that come on this show, they don't really realize how successful they are. You know, you're a pretty successful dude, right?
Yeah, I mean, the most humble people are the ones who have probably overcome the most and be like, oh my God. And every look, I know multimillionaires, decamillionaires, and more than a dozen billionaires without exaggerating, right? And so every one of them, 95%. Sorry, I have some that are so ego-filled that they think that they walk on water, but those people exist in the world. But the majority of them are very humble and understand that, it's part luck. You keep your head down for a decade and toil and struggle and fail, and you fail forward. And all of a sudden, the universe taps you on the shoulder and says, it's your time, man, let's go. And so that kind of happened to me, right? Head down, just writing books, writing stuff, doing the technology thing. And I never mentioned the word insurance because then people's eyes glaze over and like, oh God, this is going to be boring because, that's what insurance is. But the way we wrap technology around it and write about it is exciting, sexy, and awesome to me. And, brings it to life. But with respect to what you're talking about, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the books behind me and the library behind me are a testament to the self-education that I've forced upon myself. And I often, when I'm amongst my friends, refer to myself as the luckiest hillbilly in the world, right? Because I was born in Western Kentucky in a very, very difficult childhood. And to be where we're at today, I absolutely keenly aware of how lucky, how fortunate, how blessed that I am to be here right now.
Wow. That's beautiful, man. We're like brothers, man. You're in the Army. I was in the Marine Corps. I went straight out to high school, and my mantra is I'm not supposed to be here. Whenever I have like these first world problems, like, oh man, I can't get my freaking high definition camera to work, or my Rodecaster is broke for the podcast, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not supposed to be here because I'm a kid that's from Gary, Indiana, right? Gary, Indiana in the Midwest. I'm not supposed to be here. So everything or every problem that I have, is it really a problem? It's a benefit. It's a benefit to being in this space. And I see that all over you. You mentioned a decade. It takes a decade or put your head down for a decade. I appreciate you saying that because so many entrepreneurs, especially myself in the beginning, I'm like, I want it now. I want it now. Why is it so important to have that waiting mindset? Or maybe I'm wrong. Is that kind of what it was with you?
Yeah, it's the microwave generation, right? We want it now. We want it yesterday. We want, and social media, like you were talking about, just accelerates that need. Other people have it. A lot of people, it's faked, right? Fake it till you make it. But it boils up that lack in your body and your mind, and you want to be there or whatever. And so that I would submit to your listeners that that's good because it's a driver. But at the end of the day, you can't hang your head on whether you have or don't have that. That might be your end goal. It takes some people a decade. Some people are fortunate to do it in a year, right? I mean, the universe has its own own time frame for you, and you're on this journey. You agreed to come here and go through it, and you're on that timeline, man. You can push the timeline a little bit, but at some point you have to surrender and just say, all right, what's next, right? You have to have this teachable mindset about you, and this malleable thing about your brain that says, all right, there's something else I need to learn in this space, probably.
Wow. That is so good, man. That is so good. How did you get so smart? Is it because of the books?
Oh, you'd be the first person to call me that, so thank you. I'll record that to this day.
Hey, I'll send you. Hey, you'll get the recording out after this, man. You are a smart dude. Yeah, you got to recognize that you are a smart dude.
Well, I mean, there's a lot that happens with self-introspection, right? And when you go inside and internally know that you have to carry this thing forward, right? Whatever you're going to accomplish, you can have support groups, and look, I don't want to take anything away from my wife and my mom and key people in my family that have supported me. And admittedly, everyone listening to this has stood on someone else's shoulders to get to where they're at. No man is an island. No, it takes a village. It really does. But also you have to carry things forward, and you have to make disciplined decisions sometimes. And that's where you get the credit for the success. And so if you're going to ascribe the smart or intelligent or whatever thing to me, it's because I stood on other people's shoulders, but also disciplined and head down to get to where the end goal that I wanted to be. I have a vision of what I wanted in life, much like you do and other people listening, and you got to keep working towards that.
Wow. So the space where you're at, you had that vision in your head already, like where you're at right now, you had that vision before.
Yeah, and I would submit to you that even more than a vision, I wrote it down, man. I mean, to the nth degree, on a much granular level than most people imagine. And I'll just share some of it with you, right? So again, growing up in Western Kentucky, single mom, 3 children, so it wasn't the most elaborate life, right? Mm-hmm. That you could imagine. It was a struggle. Like single parenthood typically means the path to poverty, and it's horrible and it's sad, but it's true, right? I mean, it's
one paycheck away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's who it was. And so I learned at some point, the more you write things down, the more it crystallizes. And some of my early successes, and I'm talking in my 20s, man, right? I could go back to those journals. Was I had this infatuation, completely enamored with the ability to have a closet full of starched clothes, right? Like dry cleaned clothes. That's my thing, man, my gig.
That's awesome.
I will wear a new starched shirt every day. I'm 56 years old today, man. I still put on a new starched shirt because that crystallized thinking started writing it down. So it's not just about visualizing. Everyone should do that too, but writing down. And I'm not talking about on an Excel sheet. There's something different about committing it in writing on a piece of paper, setting McDonald's, setting a Starbucks, setting at your desk. It does something different in your mind. And without going too far on a limb, it tells the universe your intent, and the universe starts to bend to your will in some kind of Star Wars type way, man. Really, really does, right?
Well, I agree. Have you read Think and Grow Rich?
About a dozen times. Yeah.
Oh my God. Dude.
Yeah. And it is, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It is the most worn book in this library back here. The cover's fallen off. It is so tattered and frayed. I apologize for interrupting you, but absolutely, It's a page turn, and I try to make all my kids read it too.
Oh my God. It is such a beautiful but boring and necessary book, man. I have yet to actually read it, but I've heard it 3 times through Audible, because I haven't got to that point where I can actually sit down and read a book like that. I have to listen to it. That's like a limit that I'm trying to blow past right now. But that book, man, that book changed. I would say it changed my life, and it put me on the path of, I was going to say greatness.
That's the path you're on, man. Absolutely. I was 15 years old, Tony, when I first read it. My uncle gave me the book. Well, first of all, it's in the same English, but it's a different way that they spoke when this was written, right? And so, especially being afflicted with what I had, I would have to read a sentence, think about it, go back. I mean, it's not an easy, light page turner, right? It's not fluff. No. It challenges your thoughts. It challenges the way that you process language, because it was written in the 40s, right, and 50s, and people, or 30s, whatever. And people talk different and thought different. And just positioned things differently. And so it takes a bit, but I absolutely remember that it pulled the scales off my eyes and let me know that no matter who you are or where you started from, a greater future is possible, right, to anyone. And you aren't held down by education, by race, by lack, by income. Nothing can hold you back but you and your own limiting thoughts. And so it's very, very powerful, man. So,
wow. Any other books that you could recommend to the viewers and the listeners that would be Jeff Arnold's Secret to Success catalog?
Yeah, I'm not going to say my books here. I'm not going to pitch those, because those are about insurance and finance, right? But when you talk about success books, when I spoke early about standing on other people's shoulders, I was talking about a couple books came to mind, right? Think and Grow Rich, and then which is Napoleon Hill, and then Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, Why Most Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It, right? It's a book on, small businesses, why they don't get to the next level. Here's a tip or a hint. It's not because you're missing the latest technology or you're priced wrong. It's because you're in the way and you don't understand your business and you're not listening to your customers, and it will really challenge everything, right? Like, it's my people. Oh, it's my website. Oh, it's my pricing. No, the problem is you and how you're viewing your business and how you think about your customers. And so, that would probably be the number one pivot for me from a business standpoint, right? Running a business is Michael Gerber's The E-Myth.
Wow, that's cool. I feel like you got my office bug, because my wife and I, we were just going through some presentation stuff, and we're going over some frequently asked questions. And one of the questions was, what stopped me, or what was holding me back when I first got into entrepreneurship and running a small business? And I just looked at my wife and I was just like, me, because you should see like all of the transactions in our business bank account that I needed to buy all the latest this and all the latest gadgets and all of it's just like crazy stuff. But it was just like in the back of my mind, I knew that I was scared. Did you ever go through that phase?
Yeah, or not worthy or whatever, right? Again, part of where we grew up in our geographic area, right? It's not taught that you have an open path to success, right? It's kind of it's not bad, but it's kind of a Midwest mentality that you get a job at the factory, or you join the military, or you stay with the company 30 years. And that's, again, it's not bad, but that's kind of taught and caught as you're growing up around the dinner table. And so, look, entrepreneurialism is not discussed at the dinner table so much when we were growing up. And so we had to beat our own path and create our own path, right? And chop our own forest. I try to tell my kids this, that, entrepreneurs are like Lewis and Clark, man. It's uncharted territory. You got to make your own way, right? And here's one that they love to push to me nowadays, because they get indoctrinated with social media, whatever. They say, "Oh, well, Dad, you're so privileged and so fortunate because of how you grew up." I'm like, no, you're privileged and fortunate because of how you grew up. I had to work for it, man.
Right.
They're like, "Oh, well, Dad, you wouldn't understand because we're so privileged." No, you might be, but I was not, brother. Right?
Or you say the doggone cart can't push the horse.
That's right. Exactly right. And so every entrepreneur is, if you start thinking of yourself as a Lewis and Clark, now you understand that, man, you're creating your own path. And so you've got to chop through forest or cross mountains or rivers and streams, and you got to be ingenious about that. And most times in the small business world, guess what? That means you're doing it with little to no money, right? And that's your biggest struggle in small business is cash flow. And so, which leads me to the third book I was going to get to, is Good to Great. Really helped me understand cash, because he talks about cash as being oxygen when you climb up Mount Everest, right? You want to make sure you have enough oxygen at the top And so that helped me. It's a word that's not popular, but it helps focus it for me. Discriminate with how we use cash, right? And it just means to set apart, to bifurcate, to be intentional about it. And I use the word that people don't like, but it taught me to discriminate with cash because I always wanted the newest, shiny, sparkly laptop, cell phone, whatever, to prove that I was successful. But what happened was I was stealing valuable cash flow from my business that needed to be reinvested in marketing, SEO, or whatever. And Good to Great really honed that message for me.
That's Jordan Collins, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Jordan Collins. Man, I had no idea we were going to talk about books.
Tony, I have to go back here. I got to find how tattered my book is. See if give me 2 seconds. I got to see how fast I can find Think and Grow Rich, man.
Take your time, man. I want to see. I love seeing Think and Grow Rich copies.
Found it.
Oh my God.
I was going to find the other one, but I told you it's, man, it is worn, bro.
Are you kidding me? That is freaking amazing.
So anyway.
Oh my God. That is so cool. Have you ever seen Bob? You know who Bob Proctor is, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Watch his videos.
You do? Yeah. I loved Bob Proctor. He said he read that doggone book every single day, and I believed him, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's powerful. Again, however, whatever scales you need removed from your eyes or confidence you need, it can give it to you. Again, if you're ready, right? If you're just reading it half-heartedly, when the heart is ready, the teacher will come. And when you're ready to go head down and start working on you and your business, then the universe will respond.
That's good stuff, man. I'm glad that we're speaking today, man, because it seems like everything that you're saying, I've gone through that path as far as entrepreneurship, man. I remember this was before I was even an entrepreneur, but I went and bought a Mercedes, right? And I told everybody the reason that I bought this Mercedes, I bought 3 of them, right? Freaking all different times, and went traded one in, got another one, traded one in, got another for years. But it was like, I told people that it was the safety rating, right? That attracted to me. But that wasn't what attracted it to me. What attracted it to me was the fact that it was a freaking Benz and that I can afford it, right? And once I started going down this entrepreneurial journey, man, I went crazy. I remember calling my mom and said, I'm going to trade in my car. Well, I'm giving my car back and I'm just going through this thing and I'm getting ready to be an entrepreneur. She's like, have you lost your mind? I'm like, no, I haven't. And freaking guess what? This Saturday, I am selling my boat. And you know what I'm doing with the money that I'm getting from the boat?
Cash flow into the business.
Putting it right into the business. The craziest, most smartest thing that I've ever freaking did in my life was to have that mindset. And it's amazing to hear somebody like yourself say the same thing, dude. I'm in the right track. And our viewers and listeners, y'all listen to this, man. I want y'all to really take notes because this is good stuff. How did you get into insurance, Jeff?
Yeah, just kind of fell into it, man. Right. And actually, there was a seed planted much earlier when I was farming at 13 years old in Western Kentucky. I'll run through this story kind of quick, but I was standing on a hay bale doing tobacco and hay. And I saw this guy drive up in a 4-door Buick with the windows up, which means he had air conditioning. He stepped out in this starched shirt, right? White shirt, white seersucker jacket, and looking so sharp. And I asked my friend, what's he do? And he said insurance or something like that. So fast forward about a decade, I'm out of the Army. I need a job. And, admittedly, for most users or most listeners, it's really boring. But to me, it's an industry of all things just awesome, sexy, and exciting. I recently got branded the title of ambassador for the insurance industry because I'm at a stage in my life where it's time to give back, right, and teach the next generation. And in my work life, I still run an insurance technology company that we believe is the end of insurance shopping, and we hope we're the next unicorn, rivaling some of the larger companies. So, long story. Started on a hay bale, took a decade to answer the call, and been doing it for 31 years, and can't imagine doing anything else.
Wow, and insurance technology, that's like a whole whole platform. I'm imagining, is this something like Obamacare or something like that, where you go and you pick out all the different plans you need?
Very similar. The difference is it's a done for you, right? So what we tell people, and not a pitch for my book, but my biggest seller is How to Beat Your Insurance Company, right? And so what that teaches people is, if you think, again, you have to stop and think systemically, intentionally, how much money you're going to surrender to the insurance companies in your lifetime. Right now, you think about your boat insurance, your house insurance, your life insurance, your health insurance. It is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The way most people try to solve it is, I'll spend 15 minutes and save 15% and just keep getting cheaper, really surrendering their coverages so that at claims time, they don't have any coverage. They've just paid for insurance that's really no good, right? Because they just keep buying the cheapest. And in our industry, like any other, you get what you pay for. Well, our platform finds missing discounts. It has what we call discount discovery technology. And at every renewal, it searches up to 90 different insurance companies to find our policyholders the best deal. So they don't have to do it anymore. And then we're compensated, of course, by the insurance companies. But our value prop is finding the best deal for the policyholders. And so we've been fortunate. We have over 100,000 policyholders. I can envision 10 million policyholders, so we're nowhere near where we need to be. And I can't imagine slowing down either, because I love what I do. So I feel like I got another 30 years in me, man.
Oh my God. I can feel the passion coming from you when you talk about what you do. That program that you got, is that Rateguard? Is that what you're talking about?
Rateguard is our primary thing. RightSure is the agency, and Rateguard is our discount discovery technology that allows our people to do it. It doesn't expose the technology to the consumer, because there's a lot that happens on the back end with proprietary artificial intelligence and other technology. And so it still requires them to use our services. But there may be a time where it's a software as a service or a fee to consumers to pay, but not yet.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. And me personally, I don't think that insurance is boring. I think it was born and was not sexy is being 40 years old. And I can almost remember, not so much in my family, but seeing other families when a loved one passes away, doing passing the hat around. That was the GoFundMe before GoFundMe or the internet, right? Passing the hat around to pay just to put their loved ones in the ground, or car breakdown or something breaks in the house and they're done. They're done. Yeah, I can't. True. Yeah. So you put the technology into it to spice it up so that people can get the best rates. I think that's really cool. What is your, and I know I'm shooting them off really quick. This ain't supposed to be an interview. It's
that's all good, man.
It's supposed to be a conversation, dude, but I'm so intrigued by you, and I just want to learn from you. And I know we got such a short time together. Any burning desires you have right now?
Yeah, it is with RightSure, right? It's not a personal income level or gain for individual things anymore, right? Those have gone. They literally have fled from me and left. I don't have anything to prove like that, because that's a large part of where we are. And so, I tell our young executives, look, you're going to spend the first 10 to 12 years learning, right? And then you're going to spend your next 20 to 25 years earning in your career. And then it's time to give back. And although I still want to accomplish a lot with RightSure and in our platform, it's time to also start giving back in knowledge for those that want to hear. And so it's not time where I'm putting more stuff or more things in my life, right? And so when you ask the question, what's next? It is to take RightSure to that next level, right? I said we're at 100,000 policyholders. We need to get, that's 50 million plus in revenue. We need to get to 1 million and then 10 million policyholders and keep growing. That's the goal. But also, I have this big part of my heart now that says, how do I develop the next executive level for the company, and then the mid-level executives and the junior executives? So we spend a lot of time giving back and transferring knowledge. There is one big takeaway, though, in that, because if you have other listeners who are at that stage in their business, they'll probably come to this realization too, or could even teach me. You can waste your breath if they aren't ready to listen. Like I've got some smart, I'm going to call them young, but that would offend them, some smart new executives who are from Ivy League schools who already know everything. And so like, well, you don't know what you don't know, but they aren't ready to drink from this knowledge. And so it's taken me a while to understand that. And I've had these conversations with them direct, so there's no problem with getting out because I'm very direct about my expectations and the conversational tone. But it's a waste of my time to pour my knowledge into them if they already know it all, right? So you have to be willing to transfer the knowledge to someone who's ready to learn and listen, right? Someone willing to sit at your feet and drink the fountain of knowledge from you. If they're not, you're just wasting your time. So that's what I've learned the last 2 years really is, although I'm ready to give back, not everyone's ready to receive. And so it's been a good, important lesson for me.
Wow. So your burning desire is to serve right now and create another Jeff Arnold, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You know, if there's a way to do it wrong or make a mistake, this guy's done it, right? If there's a way to fail miserably and bigly, I've done it. And so you try to help, just like your own kids, you try to help them navigate away from those. But sometimes you just have to back up and let them fail. That's how they learn, right? You don't want them to hit the coffee table and bust their head open, but they got to fall, right? That's how you learn to walk.
I love it. Speaking of failure, I want to ask you, what do you suggest for small business owner, entrepreneur that's in the process and they're like, man, how do I scale? They got so much work coming in. They're always busy. They need to figure out how to scale.
Yeah, a couple things is systems and processes, which the E-Myth will talk to you about greatly, right? And in great detail, because he really talks about understanding the workflow and the difference between people and workflow. And that's important because when you're scaling, one of the things that most people think is, well, I just need to get a smart person, but I can't afford to pay the smart person. Well, what you really need to do is understand the system needed to get you to that next level, design, test, refine the system, and then train the person, right? Not until you're a middle market or a $1 billion company can you really afford to go out and hire all these Ivy League people that are super smart and get out of their way and let them learn at your expense, right? You have to, again, be very discriminatory with your cash. So you have to design those systems, test them, and then bring on the junior person and say, welcome to the greatest career you've ever had. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to be successful in insurance, and this is my system. Whatever your system is, then you start to teach them. So scaling is through systems. And then I would just submit that you can't scale relationships, right? Every person you bring on, they're going to communicate in a different way. They're going to receive feedback in a different way. They're going to need to be motivated in a different way. So you can't apply scaling in business and systems to relationships. They're two different functionalities.
Wow. What about the people that you hire? And this is one thing that I'm afraid of. I'll tell you, man, I'm afraid of hiring somebody and they not being as passionate as I am. My brain tells me that's okay because it's not their business. My heart tells me, screw that. They need to be all in just like me. What do you say to that idiot statement?
No, it's not an easy statement. It's what we want everyone to be as optimistic and see the opportunity like we do. But that's why we're so different, man. That's why we get to be called entrepreneurs. If it was for everybody, it wouldn't be so exceptional and the rewards wouldn't be so great, right? So we have, rewards of, in the beginning, it's money, but later becomes about freedom and free time. Like I just returned from 32 days off, right, with my family, deepening those relationships. Well, that is the same to me now as income and money was to me in my 30s and maybe my early 40s, right? And so I call it psychic income because I get to be happy and I get to spend time with my kids. And so long story short, everyone's not going to embrace entrepreneurship like we are. And so they're not going to have the passion. They have to be hired to fulfill the role that you need them to fulfill, right? They have to use your standards and your benchmarks and treat your customers the way you want them treated. But they're probably not going to give a 15-hour day like you do, right? It's just not in their DNA.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's really good stuff, man. I'm definitely intrigued by you, and I want the listeners and the viewers to soak this in. And just like we said earlier, it's the books that do it. Can you? Because I know we're short on time. The books that you have, the 4 bestsellers. Would you mind kind of going through those really quick, and then we'll close up?
Yeah, no worries. So one, we talked about a little, how to beat your insurance company. It's just that, right? We believe that means use our platform, of course, right? And then the second one is the art of the insurance deal. And it's because a good friend challenged me, another mentor that I got to stand on his shoulders, about 20 something years older, he challenged me after we had bought about 40 different insurance firms and 2 different insurance companies. He said, Jeff, you should codify, memorialize, document what this is, because it's a pretty unique path and not too many people have done it. And although I used their capital and their money, I did all the work. And so it wasn't just me, as though there was a whole army, but you know what I mean? I was president. I'm not trying to take credit for all the hard work that everyone gave. But at any rate, so that book talks about successes and failures. And then the other one's just about my predictions on what happens in our industry the next 5 years out. It's called Insurance Evolved. And then the last one, the last bestseller is called Tech Forward, Tech Enabled, and Tech Shackled. And it really is deep introspection because, like we talked about earlier, I always wanted to go out and buy the latest software or the spinning ball because software will make us better, faster, cheaper, and it's cool. We'll have the label technology behind us. But what I ended up doing in my irrational exuberance to adopt every new technology that came out is I ended up shackling our people because they don't move as fast as I do, right? Or entrepreneurs do. And then just because you buy it doesn't mean it gets implemented and integrated to the center of the company. Sometimes that can take years. And so I just created this, army of frustrated people, employees, shareholders, and people. It took a while to get to that realization. But so that book is a real deep understanding of how bad decisions that I made, and it's not really on insurance. It talks about insurance, but any executive who wants the newest, shiny, sparkly things that think it's going to make their company better needs to understand what it does to their not only their users, their employees, and their vendors, right, that integrate with them. And then the one that isn't a bestseller is called Moments with Muka. It just languishes under 10,000 sold. It's crazy, but it's really it's a consolidation of emails for me and conversations for me when we were growing a company in the early 2000s. We went from 119 to 5,200 employees. So pretty good growth, hyper growth. And it kind of catalogs the growth and the failures and how we got the systems in place. My publisher told me the title would be wrong, but after having 4 bestsellers, I said, my emails were called Moments with Muka, so the book's going to be Moments with Muka. And there's another big failure. Stop thinking you know it all. Listen to your publisher.
Yeah. Moments with Muka. What is that?
Muka, M-U-C-K-A. It was just a straw man that I created in 2001. Like a third person to help not just be everything from Jeffism or Jeff. There's Moments with Muka, this guy that visited us from afar and had knowledge and could translate that and transfer that knowledge to us. But also, Muka could be very mean and very direct at a time when I was struggling with a whole bunch of executives and employees that needed the sandwich kind of correction, like, I understand you have to correct behavior without destroying the person, but as of late, there's a management style that almost mandates that you sandwich the criticism. You give them a compliment. Tony, you're doing a fantastic job. I love your podcast. You could make them a little longer to make everyone else feel involved, but keep going. So you got to sandwich it is what they're, you know what I mean? And Muka didn't do that. Muka was direct, right? And so it got to the heart of the matter and the substance of it really quickly. And so that's why I called it that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Can I ask you 2 more questions?
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah, dude. It's all coming from my heart, man. The entrepreneurs and collected money. I get that you're a guy that serves. You do what you do because you love people. Have you ever had an instance or a moment throughout your journey where you feel guilty exchanging money for your services?
Um, it doesn't resonate with me.
Wow.
Because
That's good.
it really doesn't. I can share a tragic story. I lost everything at 42 years old. That company I was telling you was built. We built it with mortgage firms and private equity money. And in 2007, 2008, the bottom fell out. And so on, August 14th, 2007, we had 5,200 employees. On August 18th, we had zero, imploded overnight. And you say, how? I talk a little bit about the book, but every single bank pulled lines of credit. Everything, vendors started needing instant payment because if you remember what was going on, I was crazy. And we'd never had a problem. And so long story short, nothing to do with bad decision-making or ineffective leadership. It was just a sign of the times, and everyone tightened up. I mean, every credit card that everyone had went down to zero or whatever you had out. I mean, they just tightened everything up in 2008. And so I started over at 42 years old, right?
Wow.
14 years ago, built back better, bigger, badder, right, than I ever imagined, because I beat myself up for 2 years feeling pity and sorry. And so I think because having lost it all, and worked very hard to, when we say all, it's not just the financial or the physical things. It's so much of what we do is ego and self-belief and understanding who we are. You have to get all that back once you lose everything. And so I've never felt bad about charging. Right. If that's, yeah.
I love it. I love it, man. That is super good. You mentioned mentorship earlier. How important was it for you to have a mentor, or important for you to mentor others? And do you still have a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, I spoke a little earlier about, people who aren't ready. And I had the ability, but not the wisdom, to understand that I had mentors in my life my whole time. I just failed to understand. I didn't have a heart that was ready. I couldn't sit still long enough, right? I had all these maladies, afflictions, whatever, that didn't allow me to understand what they were trying to do. And so by the grace of God, other mentors showed up because I blew right through the first 3 or 4, right? I've had some, from pastors to my grandfather was a solid mentor in my life, and then some business mentors, right? Same age that have done a lot of things. And then probably the biggest one is the book I already talked about, is Michael Gerber's. I had the financial ability to join his program where he, one Thursday a month charged entrepreneurs, executives to have a conversation with him. Mine was on every Thursday for 1 hour, and that was his practice, right? Michael Gerber in the E-Myth Institute challenged every thought I had, and he used to call me Jeffrey. Well, Jeffrey, if you want to be as big as you think you are, you have to stop making it, packing it, shipping, and selling it, and you got to find a way to get people to do that for you. And so that was it. Now, with respect to mentors now, yes, listen, every great athlete you see on TV or read about in the newspaper or in social media probably has a fitness coach, a strength coach, a diet coach, a brain coach. I mean, if you should, and I tell our young executives this, you should start spending at least the same amount of money on your professional development as you're spending on your house every month. And if you can't, then you're living in too big a house, man, because you don't know everything and you don't know what you don't know. I still spend freely on my own personal stuff, right? From just a whole army of people. I just can't find anybody to help me grow hair. That's it. As soon as we find that.
Hey, let me know. Let me know who that person is, dude. I'll get them as mine too.
But yeah, absolutely. Everyone needs mentors, and no one is so smart that they can't use the counsel and guidance from other people.
Wow, this has been so good, Jeff. Man, I really appreciate you. You got any closing words? It's okay if you don't. I just want to make sure we don't have nothing hanging, man.
When you ask me, it's just what bubbled up in my spirit is just, hey, man, woman, girl, boy, just keep on keeping on, right? If you're listening to this, tomorrow's a new day, no matter how bad today is, just keep on keeping on. Every successful person has more failures behind them than you can ever imagine. So you're not alone. You're not on an island. That would be my parting shot.
Amazing. I'm going to leave it at that. Y'all take care. We'll see you next week. Whew, that was great. If you enjoyed this podcast, well, I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you're still here with us, what I want you to do is head over to your favorite podcast and streaming network and give us a download, subscribe to the channel, and also let us know what you think about the show. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for the things that you've done. Thank you for the things that you're doing. And especially thank you for the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something amazing.